As you know, in my health coaching, I talk a whole lot about how health is your natural state. Your body is intrinsically, intelligently designed to heal itself. And the only thing that's keeping you from that are what I call blockages. And these blockages are sometimes external in the form of foods that we eat and substances that we take in and environmental toxins that affect our bodies. But more so, what I've discovered in the most recent years and months is more so the blockages that keep us from the health that we really want and that's congruent with who we are internal barriers and blockages that are more in the realm of things that we cannot see, emotions and unprocessed beliefs and emotions. And so I kind of went on a search to find the quickest, most effective way to clear these blockages, because it's my personal belief that we shouldn't have to live with any fear, anxiety, or stress in our lives. And when it comes to the realm of nutrition and food, it's so important to come from a place of compassion and peace and love for our bodies rather than the typical approach, which is punishing and harsh and restrictive. And I don't think that's the life that God intended for us to live. And when we are releasing blockages, it doesn't need to be as hard as it seems to be for a lot of people. So one of the most effective, quick ways that I found to clear blockages is something called EFT tapping. And you probably heard me talk just a little bit about this, and I'm going to be giving you much more information about it. It's quite exciting to me. The EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. And it's otherwise known as tapping, so you'll hear it referred to as both. EFT, it kind of borrows from it's a combination of modern psychology and Chinese acupuncture. And the great thing about it is it's Chinese acupuncture without the use of the needles. So what essentially is happening with tapping is we're utilizing the body's energy meridians. And really these are just pathways through the body. And we're able to communicate with the mind by tapping on certain meridian points. And these are meridian points that are right around the face and the chest area, right in here. And simply by tapping on these meridian points, we can communicate with the brain. And the reason this is important is if you listen to my or watched my video called The Anatomy of Transformation, I talked about the subconscious mind and the power of the subconscious mind to control our beliefs and to control our emotions. And there are emotions that that have not been processed, that are stored in our subconscious mind, and there are beliefs that we may be completely unaware of that are stored in our subconscious mind. And the great thing about tapping is it helps us sort of get to those and rewire the brain. So how it does that is think of these points on the body. Like, I'll just give you an example. There's a point here and a point here. These are just sort of the edges, the points that we can get to by tapping on these little points here. And these basically, essentially are like a phone line. They're sending a signal to the brain. There's a part of the brain called the amygdala. And it is like an almond-shaped part of the midbrain. And it's our emotional control center. So what happens is in tapping, we would tune into a stress, a fear, anxiety, something that's causing an emotional charge. And then by simply tapping on these meridian points, it's sending a phone signal to that emotional center of our brain saying it's okay to dial down this emotional charge. Now that's it in kind of its simplest form. There's a whole lot more that I'll share with you. But the great thing about tapping is it's very simple. It's very easy to use. Anyone can learn it. It's not complicated. It's very forgiving. And you can use tapping for a bunch of different issues. So anywhere from physical pain, physical issues, joint pain, anything sort of physical, all the way to emotional issues, anxiety and stress and depression. And then to things like PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and phobias, and addictions even. And one of the other things that I think is really fun about this is that you can use it for things like emotional eating, food cravings, and an unhealthy relationship with food. Because what's often going on when it comes to food issues is that it's essentially not about the food. The issues that we're having with food, if we're dealing with emotional eating or food cravings, it's something totally different than the food. And the food is just the surface manifestation of something going on at a deeper level. We may not be aware of what's going on at a deeper level, but the great news is we can use some of the techniques with tapping in order to help us understand a little bit more about what's going on, and even if we don't get to the place we understand it, we can release the anxiety around it, and we can release the emotional charge from it. So I just want to tell you a couple of stories about this. I have a friend who I got on the phone with several weeks ago who was dealing with just an extra 15 pounds that she didn't really want, and she'd been doing a whole lot of things to get rid of this weight. And she's really careful with her diet and her exercise and doing everything that she knew to do. But some things were coming up for her on an emotional level, and she was frustrated about the weight. And anyway, we did about 2 sessions of tapping with her. And she called me a couple weeks ago and was like, I'm not sure what happened, but I dropped like 10 or 15 pounds. I don't remember what she said. It was one of those two. Just easily. It wasn't hard. Food didn't have like an emotional charge to it. There wasn't stress around what to eat or what not to eat. It just was gone. And that's because it's really, again, it's not really about the food. It's about this, it's about our emotional charge with food and the way the food is sort of suppressing something deeper or something we don't know how to process. And so that's just one story that I thought was really great. And another thing that's really interesting about this is I was working with someone who had a craving for a particular soft drink that they loved, and they had dealt with the soft drink, the addiction with the soft drink. They just had to have it forever and ever and ever and ever, and they've been really working hard to try to get rid of it. And so she brings a soft drink to a session with me. We sit down and we just started to work with it. We started to use tapping to work through what was really going on with the soft drink. Well, again, it's not about the food, because this emotional attachment to this soft drink led her to a host of other things going on. And she's able to tap through those, and then at the end, she looks down at this soft drink and goes, oh my gosh, I don't want it anymore. What did you do to it? She was really kind of like almost freaked out that it didn't even call to her anymore. It didn't even tempt her anymore. It didn't even taste the same. So again, with things like emotional eating and food cravings and an unhealthy relationship with food, it isn't about the food. The food is serving you in some way. It's serving to suppress or to medicate an emotion that you haven't been able to process. And it's not your fault. We have not been trained in this society to know how to navigate through the realm of our emotions. So it's so much fun to have this technique, and it's for it to be so simple and so easy to use and something you can learn on your own. So in the next video, I'm going to be giving you more information about the actual tapping process, where the points are, how to tap, and I really want you to get as comfortable as possible with the process so that we can be focusing on other things while you're actually tapping through the points. Because that's kind of part of the process, is not just to tap through the points, is to sort through some internal things as we tap. So get really comfortable with these points, and I'll see you at the session.